and comfortable there. And we will begin. So whatever comfortable may look like for you tonight, might not look the same as yesterday, might not look the same as tomorrow. And once you arrive wherever you are, don't feel like you have to be 100% committed to where you land as soon as you land there. So if you want to move around, get out some of those little wiggles or those movements to start before you actually settle. That's a really great way to really notice how the body is feeling. So maybe that's a little wiggle of the toes. Maybe it's a wiggle of the fingers. Maybe gently rocking those hips from side to side. Maybe exploring with how it feels to have the feet planted down into the mat. Maybe those feet are nice and wide, the knees knocking towards one another. That can feel nice to support that low back if you ever have any tension there. Or maybe it feels good to have those legs outstretched long towards the bottom of your mat. Just play with those different positions of the arms, elbows bent, maybe arms extended out to the side. Just see where you want to land today. And then once you land, if you're comfortable closing the eyes. And then beginning to invite those muscles in the face to soften. So maybe softening that area, drawing that focus to the area between the eyes, between the eyebrows. Softening the area through the cheeks and the mouth, maybe gently rolling that tongue along the teeth and just inviting that jaw to soften. Maybe you find that the lips slightly part and you have the mouth gently open, or maybe the lips are together, whatever feels good for you. I invite you to take a moment here to notice your head on the mat. So how does your head feel on the mat as it's supported by the earth beneath you? Does it feel like you're really tilting that chin up towards the sky? Does it feel like that chin is pressed in tight towards the chest? Is there a way you can maybe find a happy medium between the two so that your neck is in line with the spine? Begin to gently move down to those shoulders. Notice how they feel supported on the mat beneath you. And continue to travel down that spine, moving all the way down to your pelvis, that region of the low back. Just notice what areas are making connection there. Sometimes we have a bit of a tilt, so the pelvis is not fully onto the mat, and that's okay. Again, just noticing, where do you feel the connection on your mat with your low back? And how does it feel if you maybe play with rotating through that pelvis? So maybe pushing that low back into the mat and then allowing it to soften. How does it feel, and which one feels the most comfortable and relaxing to you today? Allowing that belly to be soft. Once again, soft through the glutes and all the way down to the tips of your toes. Allow those legs to feel heavy and supported. Beginning to draw your focus to your breath. Just taking note of your inhales and your exhales and how they're naturally flowing in and out of the body. And just gently taking a moment here to notice, where do you feel that breath originating from? Where do you feel like the breath starts from? Does it start from your low back, from your pelvis area? Does it start from the belly or the rib cage, or do you feel it starting in your chest? No right or wrong, just inviting yourself to observe and notice. Continuing to allow that breath to flow in and out through the nose if possible. And as your breath flows, maybe you notice it moves from low back through to the belly, up to the chest, and then down through the chest, belly, down to that pelvis, low back. Or maybe you notice the opposite. Maybe you notice it starts in the chest, and then it moves all the way down, and the ripples all the way back up. Just allowing yourself to be okay and accepting of where the breath is at today. And just let it flow as it does. Taking a few more deep, full breaths here. Allowing yourself, if you wish, to set an intention for your practice. Maybe doing so by gently asking yourself what it is that your body, your mind, your spirit was really looking for when you brought yourself to your mat today. What is your intention? What is your why for your practice? If you've had an intention come to mind, just allowing the next few breaths to inhale that intention into your body, really filling it in from the crown of your head all the way to the tips of your toes, almost like you're allowing it to become a full part of you. And then let's take a final 3 breaths here. Maybe drawing the hands to the belly if that feels okay for you, or if you wish to feel a little bit more of that connection. So really trying to actively, on your inhale, push that belly into the hands to feel that expansion, that space. Reminding yourself that throughout your practice, you are welcome to come back here and just breathe with your hands on your belly. Sometimes we forget that this is also yoga. So you're welcome to just stay here if you wish. Kind of the beauty of Zoom, no one can really see you. So you're welcome to do whatever your body and your mind need. Begin to explore a little bit of movement. We normally start with those small movements, fingers and toes, but if it feels good, maybe you bend into those knees right away. Maybe you begin to sway the knees from side to side, just being mindful and cognizant of what your body is looking for as you bring yourself back into a state of movement. Great opportunity here to maybe notice different points of contact with the mat. So maybe you play with alternating palms and tops of the hands down onto the mat. Maybe those feet plant onto the mat. You feel a little bit more engagement through those glutes. Maybe you feel like moving into a full body stretch by reaching those arms up. Or you can reach those arms down towards the toes if you wish as well. Taking whatever it is you need right now. Just wake yourself up. And let's from here begin to draw the knees in towards the chest. So give yourself a nice little hug. Draw those knees in nice and tight. And then once you land here, just take notice of that back of your head, back of your skull. Does anything change in the position of your chin? So just trying to keep that neck in line with the spine, rocking side to side. And then let's start to get a little bit more engaged through that upper body. So hugging those knees into the chest. Slowly begin to peel your head and shoulders off the mat, drawing that nose towards your knees. They're almost rolling into a little ball. Those feet can be flexed or pointed. Just choose whatever one's better for you. So shoulders are off the mat, head is off the mat. Hold here for 3, 2, and 1. Beautiful. Lower that upper body back down onto the mat. Let that head rest. Maybe find that rock again. Let's try that one more time. So feel that engagement as you draw the head and neck off of the mat, rolling up, almost touching that nose towards your knees. If you can, I'd be super impressed. Hold here. And then slowly, gently lower yourself back down. Good. We're going to bring that lower body down into the mix as well. So on your inhale, if that feels good, inhale, lift those shoulders and your head off of the mat. And then on the exhale, we're going to lower the upper body, but we're also going to lower the feet down to the mat. So on your exhale, lower that upper body and the feet down to the mat, and just allow the feet to plant down into the mat. Nice and slow. Good. Let's draw those knees back up in towards the chest. And then peel the shoulders and the head off of the mat. Join the nose towards the knee. Curl, curl up. And then nice and slow, 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 slow. Lower that upper body and the lower body down. So you'll feel that core begin to engage, your abdominal muscles begin to engage as you allow those feet to plant down onto the mat. Good. Let's give that upper body a little bit of a break. Arms can be extended out to the side, or you can have them bent at 90 degrees. Let's draw those knees up. So those knees are going to be at that 90 degrees. Again, toes can be pointed or flexed, whatever feels good for you here. And we're going to slowly lower one foot down than the other. So the knee is going to be kept bent. We're working on drawing that heel towards the mat. So slowly begin to lower that right heel down to the mat to touch. And then lift it back up beside its partner. Good. Left heel comes down towards the mat to touch. Reach it back up to its partner. Let's continue this movement. Just notice where you feel this in the body. Maybe you're feeling this in the hip flexors. Maybe you're feeling this into the low back. Does it feel good to engage those core muscles just a little bit more? So maybe you draw that navel slightly in towards the spine. Maybe it feels better to have a little bit more relaxed. Just notice how that feels. Let's do one more on each side. Beautiful, a little bit of core work. Lovely. And then from here, we're going to draw those knees back into the chest, and we're going to begin to make circles with those knees. So circle those knees out to the side, and then join them together, drawing them back into the chest and allowing the knees to come out to the sides of your mat. So beginning to wake into those hips, making those hip circles. Playing with the position of the feet. How does it feel to point and flex through the ankle? And the next time the knees come to the center, let's change direction, move in the opposite way. All right, we'll do one more full rotation on the side. Lovely, and then allow the feet to come back down to the mat. We'll roll over onto our left side. Just allow that left arm to come up to the top of your mat, almost as like 12 o'clock on the top of your clock. So we're onto the left side body, and then we'll take that right arm and bring it up to meet the left arm. So both of our arms are at 12 o'clock here. Your bottom half, your knees can be bent if that's more comfortable for you. And then we're going to slowly begin to make circles with that top right arm. So let's move counterclockwise to start. So move that right arm back. You can draw that gaze with you. So maybe that means you lower that right shoulder almost all the way down to the mat. And then circle it all the way around. So you're moving through as if you're in a clock. And then circling it all the way back up to the top. So nice and slow here. If it doesn't feel good to follow your hand with your gaze, then just keep that gaze pointed towards the left side of the room. Any areas that feel sticky or feel like they need you to stay just a little bit longer, please feel free to stay there. This is a great one to work through the shoulders, all the, I guess we can call it gunk in our shoulders, everything that kind of builds up, especially all the computer work, all the sitting that we're probably doing now. And we'll move through one full circle. And then the next time we come to 12 o'clock, let's begin to move in the opposite direction. So we're moving clockwise this time. And again, checking in, seeing the story on this side. Could feel very different. At any point this doesn't feel good for the shoulder, just lessen your range of motion. So maybe you don't go as far back over top of that right side. Maybe you keep that arm a little bit more towards the sky. So you make a little bit smaller circle. That's okay. Just work with your range of motion today. Beautiful. Last rotation on this side. And then just take a moment and pause both of those arms at 12 o'clock. And then slowly begin to transition yourself over to the opposite side. So we're going to come on to the right side. You're going to be resting onto that left arm this time. By left arm, I mean right arm. Sorry, I'm getting my lefts and my rights mixed up already. So we're on the right side. You're resting on that right arm. And then that left arm is the one that's going to make the circles. So as you're ready, you can begin those circles counterclockwise to start. Giving yourself the same time to adjust as you did on the opposite side. And the next time you come through the center, move the opposite way. Find that last rotation on this side. Lovely. Slowly rest both of those arms, 12 o'clock. And then use those hands to help draw yourself up into your tabletop position. So take your time to get yourself there. Finding that connection between the hands. Playing with that position of toes tucked or maybe the feet flat down onto your mat. You can play with that and see how it feels. Sometimes it's nice to tuck the toes and get a little bit of a stretch into the bottom of the feet. And then play with the position as well of that pelvis. So maybe you find that the pelvis drops forward, so you have that little bit of an arch in the low back, like you would if you were coming into your cow. And then you have that rounding as if you were coming into your cat. So if you move through a few of those really subtle cat-cows, just dropping the belly and then finding that rounding. Try to find a happy medium. That's where we want to be in our tabletop position, a happy medium between those two. Then once you find yourself there, let's begin to extend through that right leg. So extend that right foot back, tuck those right toes, rock forwards and backwards. Good. We're going to keep that left hand planted, and we're going to pivot on that left knee. So that left foot creates a kickstand. That right foot, the toes are going to point towards the long edge of our mat. And we're going to inhale to peel that right arm up. So we're in kind of this modified side plank, the right fingertips pointed towards the sky. And then seeing how it feels to extend that right arm towards the front of your mat, and then draw it back up through to center. So nice and slow, just drawing that right arm forward and then back up through the center. And notice when you're doing this, are you rounding that right shoulder forward? You want to keep both of those hips pointed towards me, both of those hips pointed towards the front of your mat. Okay, let's do 2 more of those reaches. Nice full reach with those fingertips. And then we're going to pause in that reach. So reach those right fingertips, reach, reach, reach. Send that right shoulder slightly back so that right side of the chest is slightly open, and maybe draw that gaze up underneath the armpit. Take a full breath in, feel that length through the right side body, all the way from the tip of the right toes, all the way up to those right fingertips. Beautiful, and then circle that right arm around and come back to that tabletop position. We're going to walk those hands out slightly further in front than we would in tabletop. Draw those elbows in nice and tight towards the body and slowly lower yourself down onto your belly. Good. Once you're here, take a moment to push the tops of the feet into your mats. Bring the forearms out in front of you. Almost feel like you're pulling your hands towards you, and lift that chest up. So you might feel a couple different things here. You might feel those glutes start to engage, so you might feel like you want to squeeze those bum cheeks. Feel free to do that if that feels good. So we're strengthening here through the back body. So those shoulder blades are drawing slightly together. Try to avoid that rounding and that dumping into the shoulders. Take 3 full breaths. After that last exhale, lower yourself back down to the mat. Take a moment, touch the forehead to your mat. And then take a nice tuck of those toes, push out through the hands, roll yourself up into that tabletop position. Set yourself up, find that neutral, quote unquote, neutral pelvis, so that happy medium between chest pushing down and the rounding of the spine. And then we'll move through that arm flow on the opposite side. So we'll take that left foot back, tuck those left toes, and then begin to rock forwards and backwards on those left toes. Beautiful. We'll take a nice pivot onto that right knee. Right toes come into that kickstand, extend through that left arm. Reaching those left fingertips up, finding that stability, and then slowly beginning that arm flow by reaching the left fingertips forwards, and then sending them back up to the sky. Maybe a little bit more conscious of how you're breathing here. Maybe you inhale to reach the fingertips forward and exhale to draw them up. Maybe you do the opposite. Keep those hips pointing towards me. Lovely. Let's do one more. And then we'll hold, reaching, lengthening through those left fingertips all the way to the tips of those left toes. Nice full length on the left side body. Reach, reach, reach. Good. And then on your exhale, draw that left hand down beside the right. Come back to that tabletop. Walk those hands out in front again. Elbows tight in towards the body. Lower yourself back down onto your mat. A little bit different here. If you like that Sphinx pose with the forearms, you're welcome to stay there. Or you can draw the hands beside the chest, push into the tops of your feet, and slowly begin to bring yourself up into a baby cobra. So baby cobra, our elbows are still bent, and we'll probably feel a little bit more engagement through that low back. As long as there's no pain, it's okay. Maybe play with squeezing those glutes, or maybe come down, drawing that chest a little bit closer towards the mat. Let's try to hover the hands here. So push the tops of the feet into the mat, hover through those hands for 3, 2, and 1. Beautiful. Lower yourself back down to the mat, touch the forehead. And then tuck those toes, send those hips back into your child's pose. Take a moment here in child's, maybe massage the forehead, rocking it from one side to the other. And you're welcome to stay in your child's pose if you wish. You're welcome to come back out into your tabletop, or if it's in your practice, you're welcome to come into that downward facing dog. So if you're in that downward facing dog, pushing those hips up towards the sky, maybe having that bend into the knees to start, feeling like you're pushing out through the fingertips to avoid that tension into the wrists, and then maybe pedaling those feet. If you're in your tabletop, you can move through a few of those cat-cows. If you're in your child, you're welcome to bring in some sways from side to side. So whichever pose you choose, we'll be here for about 5 breaths. You're welcome to alternate between. And nice and slow, from wherever you are, draw that gaze towards the hands. And step yourself up any way that's comfortable for you to find your way into that forward fold. So nice bend into the knees, resting that belly onto the tops of the legs. Maybe those hands come down to the mat. This is a great opportunity for them to come down to a block if that feels good as well. And allow that head to hang. Maybe gently nodding that head no. And nodding that head yes. Or I guess it would be shaking your head no and nodding your head yes. You don't want to nod your head no. It defeats the purpose of saying no. And then engaging through those hamstrings, so the backs of your legs, roll yourself up nice and slow to your standing pose. Slow, slow, slow. And as that gaze comes forward, send the arms up. Take a nice inhale. And then exhale, draw those hands through to your heart center. Let's take a few breaths here in our Tadasana, feeling that strength in our mountain pose. And come back to your breath here. Like we did from lying down at the beginning of our practice, maybe notice, where do you feel that breath beginning and ending? Do you feel those shoulders moving as you breathe in? Maybe those shoulders are rising towards the ears and sinking down as you exhale. Can you try to soften and really make this breath a movement from the low back, the belly, into the chest, but avoiding really shrugging those shoulders. Lovely. Let's flow a little bit here. We'll take a nice reach up with the arms, maybe an inhale. Join the palms together, hinge at the hips, send yourself back down to that forward fold. Good. Let's take a halfway lift. So maybe the hands draw to shins, find length through that spine. And exhale to lower yourself back down to your mat. Good. We'll take a nice bend into those knees, planting of the hands. Let's step that left foot back into a lunge position. So take a moment here in your lunge to work on lengthening and bending through that front right knee. So that back knee can be down if that's more comfortable for you. So that back left knee can be down. And you're working on lengthening, bending through that front right knee. Just doing your best to not pass that right knee past the right toes. Checking in the story on the right side here, working a little bit more through that right hip and also into that left hip flexor. All right, and the next time that right knee is bent, let's allow that left foot to parallel the short edge of our mat. We're setting ourselves up for warrior two stance. And then circle, reach those arms and come into your warrior two. So once you find yourself here, land here, maybe palms up, palms down, maybe practice playing with both. And then settle that gaze over top of that middle finger of that right hand. Just being mindful of that front knee, tracking towards baby toes. And then settling into this warrior, this strong pose. Lots of strength, lots of areas of the body that are working here. Let's take a little dance with our warrior. We'll drop the back arm, lift the front arm up, maybe on your inhale. And then on your exhale, we're gonna play with side angles. So drop that right arm down to the front right leg and then reach that left arm up overhead towards the front of your mat. We did this already from our knees, so it should be a little bit familiar. Good, and then circle, lift, reach those arms back to warrior two. So we'll do that dance one more time together. So as you're ready, inhale to exalt, reach, lift. And then exhale to bend and extend those left fingertips forward. Good. Let's move through two more at your own pace. Take your time, feel free to move nice and slow. And as you reach those left fingertips forward again, remember trying to avoid that rounding. Really try to open. Let's meet back in that warrior two after we've done our 2 rounds. Soften those shoulders, come back with that gaze. Find that focal point in front of you. And then on that inhale, let's straighten through that front leg, lift those arms up to the sky. Keeping the arms up to the sky, interlace the fingers, point the index finger towards the sky. And then pivot that right foot. So we're in that wide leg forward fold stance. So both of those toes are facing towards the long edge of your mat. Heels may be slightly wider than your toes. And you're reaching through that index finger, softening those shoulder blades away from the arms, but still feeling that opening through the chest and the shoulders. Full breath in, full breath out. Good. On your full breath in here, reach, lift. And then on your exhale, separate the hands and slowly swan dive yourself forward into that forward fold, wide leg forward fold. Adjusting the stance of your foot, maybe you want to heel toe 1 foot wider. Maybe it feels good to sway a little bit side to side. Just enjoy this cooling forward fold. So we built a little bit of heat with our warrior, and now we're cooling it down a little bit with our folds. So maybe you're walking side to side, maybe you're resting at center. Another great place to have that blocks beneath the hands if you want a little bit of an elevation through the chest. Let's draw those hands back to center, come up onto the fingertips or onto the block into that halfway lift. So we're finding that length through the spine. And then slowly exhale yourself back down. Beautiful. Let's walk those fingertips back towards the right foot. So draw those right toes towards the front of your mat, left toes towards the front of your mat as well. So you're back in that lunge position. And then from here, we're going to take a step with that left foot up to meet the right foot. We're back into that forward fold. A little bit different of a forward fold here. Maybe you take opposite hands, opposite elbows, and find a sway. But we're going to drop those hands back down to the mat and then come back to that halfway lift. So hands come to shins, find that length. And then instead of coming down into that forward fold, let's bring the hands to the hips, bend into the knees, and slowly roll ourselves up to our Tadasana, our standing. Nice and slow to avoid any dizziness. And then once you arrive here, let's try Tadasana if you wish, with the hands out to the side, palms facing forward. And come back to that breath. Again, being that observer and noticing where you feel it. Let's move through that opposite side. Nice inhale to reach the arms up. And exhale to fold. Come back to that halfway lift. And then draw yourself back down to that forward fold. Good, nice plant of the hands. Step that right foot back this time to that lunge. And then let's find that rock by bending and lengthening through that left leg. Again, that right knee can be down to help you do so. Noticing the story on this side of the body, probably very different from the other side. We hold tension and emotion so differently from one side to the other. Oh yeah, this side is definitely talking to me today. And then when that left knee is bent, you can come back up onto that right knee, off of that right knee if it was down, and we'll parallel that right foot to the short edge of our mat and roll ourselves up into our warrior two on this side. So left leg is in front. And just take a few breaths to settle. Maybe seeing how it feels to close the eyes here. When we close our eyes, we engage that proprioception, which is our ability to see ourselves in space. So when the eyes are closed, our body kind of has to second guess. You may feel different muscles in your body maybe tense up a little bit when you close your eyes because your body can't really use your vision to rely on it, to rely on where it is. So just take a few breaths here if you've tried with your eyes closed, if that's okay for your balance. If not, keep them open. Beautiful. Let's open the eyes and then start with that dancing warrior on this side. So drop the back arm, lift the front arm up, exalt. And then bend through that left elbow, place it on the left leg and reach those right fingertips towards the front of the room this time. Good. We'll come back into that dancing warrior one more time together. So inhale, lift up. And exhale, bend, reach forward into that side angle. Good. Move through the last two at your own pace. Take your time, pause where you need to. Feel what you feel. Good, and then we'll meet back in that warrior two. Absolutely no rush. Take a moment here to settle. And let's start that transition over to our wide leg forward fold. So on an inhale, reach those arms up together, lengthen through that front left leg, interlace the fingers, Kali Mudra, index finger pointing up. Draw that left foot towards the long edge of your mat. So we're in that wide leg forward fold stance, heels slightly wider than toes. Really inhale to reach that fingertip up. Good, and then the exhale, swan dive, draw yourself back down to that wide leg forward fold. Good. If you have a block here, you might want to grab it. If not, you can use a heavy book or anything that you have that gives you a little bit more stability here. You can have it on the medium height or on the lowest height here, just where you would have your hands. We're going to start with placing that left hand onto the block, or you can have it onto your mat. And we're going to inhale that right arm up towards the sky. So maybe the gaze is going to draw up with the right hand. Maybe not, maybe it stays down. And then we're going to allow that right hand to sweep down to the block and switch with the left. So reach that left arm up. The whole time you want to feel almost like you're in that halfway lift. So that spine is long. You have that nice long line between your neck and your spine all the way to the tailbone. Almost like if you were balancing a block or a book on your low back. And just continue to alternate between the two. Almost if you were balancing something on your back, it wouldn't shift. So this movement is coming through the thoracic spine, the upper back. Good, let's do one more on each side. If you don't do a lot of work through the thoracic spine, sometimes our thoracic spine can be lazy, you'll probably feel a little bit of work in the back of the shoulder blades just by doing these movements. All right, let's come back to the center and take a nice halfway lift. So come up to those fingertips. And then allow yourself to release down into that forward fold. So relax, draw the hands down to the mat if they reach or to the block. And take a few breaths here in movement or in stillness. We're going to take a nice slow walk as you're ready over to those left toes, pointing those left toes to the front of your mat and those right toes follow. We're going to plant those hands. Step that left foot back either into our downward facing dog, or you can come into your tabletop or your child's. 3 breaths here, maybe finding movement in whichever posture you've chosen. And then from here, we're all going to come down onto our hands and our knees. So we're going to come back to that tabletop position. And we're going to walk those hands slightly forward again and lower ourselves down. Elbows tight in towards the body, down onto our mat. So we're onto our bellies. Good. Take a moment, rock those hips side to side. And let's once again push the tops of the feet down into the mat. And yogi's choice here for your back bend. If you liked that Sphinx pose with the forearms down, if you liked your baby cobra with the elbows bent, whatever feels good, see how it feels to engage through those glutes as you lift yourself up into the back bend of choice. Let's take 3 breaths there. Again, always know you can bend the elbows down, come onto your forearms if you need a little bit less through the low back. Nice and strong. It's good to work the back body for 3, 2, and 1. Beautiful. Lower your forehead back down to your mat. And then from here, let's tuck those toes. Use those hands to help us. We're going to send ourselves back into a wide leg child's pose. So the knees can come to the long edges of your mat. And then sink those hips back into your child's pose here. Make this nice and passive, nice and gentle. If child's pose isn't comfortable for you, you can stay on your belly. Allowing your one goal in this posture here to breathe. Trying to let all other areas of the body go. If you're feeling this in the inner thighs, into the groin, maybe bring the knees in a little bit closer together. And sink into this for about 6 breaths. After that final exhale, slowly walk those hands up towards your knee. And then allow the feet to come over onto one side. We're going to come immediately to lying on our backs and just have your strap handy to come down to lying on your spine with your strap. So as you lower yourself down onto your mat, take those knees in towards the chest, lengthen out through that strap or that scarf, whatever you have, and place the strap on that space just below the toes, so on the balls of the feet. Try to avoid that arch. And then extend those feet up to the sky. Taking a moment to draw those toes towards the shins and then maybe gently pointing the toes towards the sky. Soften those shoulder blades down. Try to think of the strap as almost an extension of your arms. So you don't want to be really pulling too much with the strap. It's just a way to give you a little bit more availability. Maybe begin to find a rock from side to side here. Very gentle, very slow. And let's leave that right foot up into the strap. Left foot can be down, long extended, or the knee can be bent. Let's draw the strap into the right hand. Maybe place the left hand on the left hip and begin to allow that right foot to fall towards the right side of the room. So that right hip is opening. That strap is helping to support. And that left glute is still making contact with the mat. Take 3 full breaths in here through the nose and out through the nose if possible. Beautiful. After that next exhale, gently extending that right leg back up to the sky. Your left knee is bent, just extending it long here, bringing the strap into the left hand, and then crossing the right leg over top of that extended left. That right arm can come out into a T, into bent elbow. My foot's going to be resting on the couch because that's where I'm positioned right now. And take those 3 breaths. Maybe you're drawing the gaze away from your right foot. Beautiful. Send that right leg back up towards the sky. And then allow that left foot to come and join. So bend into that right foot and replace the left with the right. So the right foot is either planted down or extended long. Take a moment, adjust to that foot being extended up towards the sky. Beautiful. And then strap comes into the left hand, maybe right hand on right hip. And then allow that left foot to open up towards the left side. And take those 3 breaths. Begin to come back up to the center and come into that crossover. So right leg extends long, crossing that left over top of the right. Strap is in the right hand. And then bring the gaze over the left shoulder and see what feels good for that left arm. You need to draw that left foot back up to the center. And then gently bending into that left knee, removing the strap off to the side. You can allow both feet to plant down into the mat, knees towards the sky, arms extended long to the sides. Just being intuitive with your body here for the last few moments of movement. What is your body looking for? Maybe you're looking for a twist. Maybe allowing the knees to fall from one side to the other. Maybe you're looking for a happy baby. Maybe a full body stretch. Just going wherever your body needs to go to close your practice. And then as you begin to feel ready here, you can start to allow the body to find its way into your Shavasana. Again, like what we did at the beginning of class, get curious at the beginning. How does it feel to have the knees bent? Maybe if you have a block, maybe it feels good to place a block underneath the low back. What different variations would feel good for you? Just explore for a few moments before you settle. And then as you feel ready to settle into your mat, into your breath, just begin to come back to that role of being an observer of your breath. Don't try to change anything or force. Just notice the flow. Be in and out. Be the sense of relaxation as you allow your body to settle and soften. Knowing that this time is for you and your body, all the energy and prana that you created tonight is equally as important as that is. It is important to allow yourself to be still in mind and body. So allow yourself this time. Begin to make that return gently and slowly back to this space, back to the physical body. Inviting in those movements, however your body is asking for them. If you wish, you can join me by drawing that left hand to your heart and the right hand to your belly. And just noticing that movement between the hands, the movement between below the right hand and the movement below your left hand. Our breath is all encompassing. It fills our whole body. It fills us up all the way from the top of our body to the very tip of our toes. And this is such a beautiful posture, a beautiful connection to come back to if you ever feel like you lose that. You lose that breath, you lose that sense of connection and groundedness to your body. Slowly beginning to find your way up into a seated posture, or you are welcome to stay where you are if you prefer. Take your time to get there, there's no rush. Once you find yourself there, maybe you close the eyes from wherever you are, whether you're lying down or you're seated. Eyes can be closed. Just take a few breaths in naturally. Through the nose, out through the nose. Thanking yourself for your practice this evening, thanking your body, your breath, and your mind that allowed you to come to your mat, to arrive here today. And I thank you so much for allowing me to guide you through your practice. It's always one of the highlights of my days whenever I get to practice with you. So if you wish, you can join me hands at heart center. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening. From my light to yours. Namaste. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a